How about Darius Alexander? So this has been another name that has been linked to the Detroit Lions. He may come off the board a little bit earlier than expected. My guess, early second round. I think that he'll be inside the top 36. He could beat out Tyleik Williams. Oh. Now, I know that Tyleik Williams has been down on some people's boards. Mm-hmm. He's still high on my board for the Detroit Lions. I think that he's a perfect fit in Detroit. I think that Detroit likes him a lot. I haven't had any conversations with Brad Holmes, but I honestly feel like there's some love here in the air for
Tyleik.
Yeah, for Tyleik Williams.
Now,
excuse me.
He's from Ohio State, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So what I've seen so far in most of the mock drafts is Tyleik is gone before the Lions even have a shot at him.
Three things that are going on at the combine. You have the on-field drills, you have the measurables, and then you have the agility, right? So the on-field drills where some of these guys don't test, they don't do the 40, they don't do the vert or the broad or all that stuff. They were doing the things like the wave drill, the 4-bag agility, the rip drill, the running club. Those are the things that I got to see a lot of yesterday because they weren't doing the other things. They weren't running. They weren't testing their agility. So that's where I made my mistake here. So Tyleik Williams. Let me wind back to Tyleik Williams. Mm-hmm. Blazed. I mean, just absolutely blazed the trail yesterday. Lateral agility was out of the, just crazy. Best overall agility, in my opinion, from what I saw yesterday. Clearly, we don't have anything as far as testing grades. But when you watch the guy work, to me, that was more important than anything. Just watching how his body functions in and out of these drills. And I think that it helps these guys. The more that they're able to show their bend and body control and burst through, every section of an agility drill, it's just making their stock rise that much more. And then if you can match it up to testing scores as far as like 40, 10, vert, broad, all that good stuff, that's what you're looking for. Again, doing this now for about 3 years, that's what I'm looking for. Now, his broad was only 9'4". But if we were to look at some of the best defensive linemen to ever do this, broad jump. So what's 9'4"? That's, how many inches is that? 112 inches. So Fletcher Cox, 108. Haloti Nada, 110. Chris Jones, 105. Quinnen Williams, 112. John Hargrave, 109. Braden Fisk, 127. Christian Wilkins, 107. Jonathan Allen, 108. Ali McNeil, 108. Justin Madubuike, 110. Kobe Turner, 114. So when you look at, a big dude like...
Going to be the Detroit Lions brought back a ton of depth. They're pretty much rinsed and repeat from last season's team and brought it over to this year's team. I mean, that's like the base of this defense at least. They're running it back. I think the offensive side of the football is looking good. Jared Goff's obviously our starter. Jahmyr Gibbs, Monroe St. Brown, Jamison Williams still alive. Tim Patrick they brought back. We could use an upgrade at the number 3 receiver for Tim Patrick. Obviously, Khalif Raymond would stick around. Tom Kennedy would obviously be gone. Ronnie Bell, players like that. The Lions do need a receiver, but I think that they could add a receiver in the second round. Tim Patrick, look, he's great. I think he's going to be great for this year. He's a little bit older. I think that we need to find that next 6'3", 6'4" guy. Second round, we could do it for sure. Sam Laporta is solid. Brock Wright, Yaboa. I think that our tight end room is good. Oh, I just got a text from Nikki Scorton.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, we might have something happening. If Nick Scorton goes to the Lions, that was my mock draft, Nick Scorton to the Lions. And I did it twice. Got him both times. Oh, so the pick is in. So the Detroit Lions are now officially on the clock. It is Detroit Lion time. Are you guys ready? I know I am. I cannot wait to see what's about to happen. All right.
I'll come back to that in a moment. So
Will's smiling.
Look, I think that our roster's in really good shape offensively. I do believe that we need some offensive line help. I think that now in this, this first round, with Josh Connerly being the only guy left, I can't imagine, at least on my board, I can't imagine another offensive lineman making any sort of sense here, right, for the Lions. So I'm good on offense for the first round. I think we're good. Now, switching to the defensive side of the football, we've got a problem with Ali McNeil being out for the majority of the season, probably 3/4 of the season or longer. We need to back him up. Defensive tackle-wise, it's going to be Tyleik Williams, DJ Sanders. As my 2 favorite defensive tackles in this draft, even where we're picking them, they're 2 of my favorite defensive tackles.
Malachi Starks just went to the Ravens.
And that was my pick. That's another Rocks lock. And now your Detroit Lions are on the board.
Okay, I just want to put it right there. See what that says right there, Will?
Nick Scorton, yeah. You better have got it.
That's my pick for the Detroit Lions.
All right, so here we go. Defensive side of the football. Obviously, there's a lot of you that really view the Lions as needing an edge rusher. And I would agree that we need an edge rusher now that we're in this period of Aiden Hutchinson getting an extension. It only makes sense. Man, this thing's been cutting me all night. It only makes sense that, I don't know what it is. It's just something underneath there, glass or some staple. Jesus. It only makes sense to double down, and back Aiden's contract up. So adding an edge rusher this year makes perfect sense for roster roulette, right? You're going to have a big extension on Aiden Hutchinson, so now it's time to backfill, and I think edge rusher is a perfect opportunity for the Lions where they're sitting right now. The problem is, I said very early on in this process that we need a linebacker. Now, Jahad Campbell has slipped. Mm-hmm. He slipped big time from where a lot of people thought he was going to be a top 15 pick. So I think that what we need to know about the Lions is the defensive line is in very much need. We need to keep an eye on it. We need to do something with it. Defensive tackle makes a lot of sense. Are the Lions even going to think about trading back right now because there's this log jam, given the fact that you have an opportunity at Nick Scorton or Tyleik Williams or TJ Sanders right now, or even Nick Emenawar? You can't trade back right now. You have to take this player. I think the two trade backs passed us by. I think the Lions were dialed in. They were going to stay put. Knowing where this was going, they're picking at 28. If they trade back right now, I'd be surprised. Lee McNeil now coming back to at least 3/4 of the way through the season. Again, defensive tackle makes sense. Levi Owens-Rieke, he's here on a 1-year deal. Again, defensive tackle makes sense. DJ Reader, he's on the last year. Defensive tackle makes a lot of sense.
Doing an interview, so they're drawing.
They're saying the pick is in, so don't spoil it. My pick for the Detroit Lions is going to have to be what I've always thought it was going to be, and I don't care if I'm wrong, because you can't miss right now. Oh, my God. I thought it was Nick Scorton the whole time.
Yeah. That has been my pick.
But I've also said Tyleik Williams if he was there.
Yeah.
So I'm like torn because I really like Nick Scorton.
Yeah.
You can't miss. You can't miss. So it's one of three players if the Lions are picking. It's Jahad Campbell, it's Nick Scorton, or it's Tyleik Williams. That's it. I can't. Well, there it is. Tyleik Williams. So that tells you, look, either Brad doesn't believe that edge is a big necessity this year with Marcus Davenport, Josh Paschal, which he said was going to be going back inside. But the backups that we have, they're not terrible. And again, it's filling the pipeline with the best player available. And obviously they feel that Tyleik Williams is a better football player right now than Nick Scorton. And what does that mean? So let's take a look at Tyleik Williams and what does he give us versus, what a Nick Scorton is going to give us right now or any other edge rusher that's on the boards.
They just showed that Tyleik Williams had 11.5 sacks as a defensive tackle for Ohio State.
Yeah, as a defensive tackle.
As a defensive tackle.
Yeah, that's why I said earlier, man, 334 pounds and his upside as a pass rusher is insanity to me. And could you imagine when he comes into a professional, training system and he drops a few pounds, tones up a little bit of muscle, and he gets to work? You know what I mean? This could be a 10-sack guy. I think that the floor for him is probably 4 or 5 a year, just like any other defensive tackle, but there's plus upside. Tyleik Williams is a special athlete. I think he did very well. He's 6'3", 32-inch arms, a little bit short on the arm length. You guys know I like my arms to be a little bit longer, but as a defensive tackle, 32 is fine. 10.5-inch hands. The guy has a phenomenal wingspan. All right, so he's 2021. He's an honorable mention All Big Ten Conference. Played in 12 games as a reserve. He had 16 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 pass breakups.
Wow.
As a reserve. In 22, he was another honorable mention All Big Ten. Played in all 13 games as a reserve again. 21 tackles, 2.5 TFLs with 1 sack and 2 PBUs. In 2023, he was the third team All Big Ten, tied for the team lead with 10 TFLs. Played in all 13 games with 12 starts, 54 tackles, 10 TFLs, 3 sacks, 5 PBUs. He's getting better like every year. I mean, his sack numbers dropped from year 1 to year 2, but then they came back up. And then in 24, he was third team All Big Ten, started all 13 games for the national championship team, 46 tackles, 8 TFLs, 2.5 sacks, 1 PBU, missed 3 games due to injuries. So that's where you're getting your 10 sacks, Eric, was 10 sacks overall.
Yep.
Look, Lance Zerline says that this guy's a drain-clogging run defender with violent first contact and nimble feet. Impressive tackle production. Williams flashes an ability to play through or around the block. He physically dominates man-on-man matchups, but inconsistent pad level and shorter arms hinder his double team take-ons. He needs to focus on developing his hands to keep longer NFL guards from getting into him and neutralizing his power. Williams would pressure the pocket from time to time, but might not win on his own enough to see many third down reps. The knockback pop and ability to eat up runners is in his general vicinity could help him become an impactful run-stuffing 3 technique. I mean, I would say that, yeah, a lot of that stuff makes sense, but I see more in Tyleik Williams in the tape that I've watched. I mean, I see the guy really get good first pop, and he gets off, quickly. And yes, his NFL comp was Aleem McNeil. Yeah. So a lot bigger Aleem McNeil. Yeah. He's kind of between a DJ Reader and Aleem McNeil. Yeah. He's got good speed. He has good quickness. He has great pop.